Hey guys, Tarke here, and this is going to be a very sort of off-the-cuff day one first impressions. You'll notice I'm only level 58. That's actually because this is my second character of the league. I league started on a what was going to be a Pathfinder. It was just a ranger I played till the end of Act 4. And I decided I wanted to mess around with the new Concoction skill. It looked kind of interesting. I got the new Concoction skill, and it kind of just felt like a bad trap. And it's funny because when I first saw this skill, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I thought, well, it's just a trap. And everyone's like, oh, this looks so cool. You throw these like things and then they explode. It's like, yeah, it's like a trap. It's like, no. It's like you throw like a Molotov at a location, and it's a trap skill. Basically, it's a trap that doesn't scale with any of the trap stuff and doesn't have any of the trap quality of life. So the skill's actually pretty good. The damage on it is pretty solid. The main issue I had with it is I found it was quite easy to overshoot enemies. So because you lob it through the air, it's not like a projectile. A projectile you shoot straight in front of you. It actually reminded me a little bit of Reap. So anyone who played Reap last league might have had the thing where every now and again it would feel like your Reap would miss enemies. And even though like 85% of the time the Reap would land exactly as you wanted it, just those times where it didn't quite land, you'd get super triggered. This is also incidentally one thing that irritates you a little bit about the league mechanic. So there's like a range cap on how far you can be from like where you last laid the TNT. And in this location, for example, everything was kind of just spread sort of wrong. So we couldn't really lay anything in good spots. So we're just gonna have to do like a dumpster one. I kind of wish they didn't have that ranged tethering thing, but anyway. So it kind of, it reminded me a little bit of Reap. It reminded me also quite a lot of Magma Orb now, Rolling Magma. I actually used to play a lot of Magma Orb back in the day. It was like one of my first characters that I ever like really pushed. I got it to like 97.5 back in, oh god, I think it was Harby. It was either Harby or the league before Harby. It was when we had old Berserker. Weapons Swap Terminator. And it was a really fun character, and the playstyle was quite similar. The difference being is that Magma Orb has the benefit of you throw it, it hits the location, and then it chain bounces. Whereas with Explosive Concoction, you're still getting the nice big AoE overlap. But I just kind of found that it didn't have enough to really excite me. It felt like a lot of pre-existing skills I'd already played. And while it was interesting, it also came with a lot of limitations. And I was struggling to, as I was playing with it, I was kind of just struggling to justify why I was using the skill. It's kind of like, okay, so I've played a lot of builds with very similar playstyles. This has a worse playstyle, because you can like overshoot and miss monsters, especially if they're like running towards you. Yes, with enough projectiles and enough AoE, it'll feel amazing. But then I'm just kind of playing a trap that is harder to scale, that isn't a trap. And yeah, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to park this for now. And maybe if I see some really cool ideas for it, I might come back for it, or if I get some interesting items. I'm also, from the little bit of playing I did, again, I only played it till Act 4, I kind of feel like the whole Pathfinder thing is sort of a trap. The thing which I found most interesting, having played with the skill, was just like, okay, you just want as much area of effect as possible, and you just really push the AoE overlap aspects of it. And then I think Elementalist, maybe stacking all the Herald stuff, that actually might be the way to go, but I don't know. So from that, I was like, okay, let's just play a Trapper. I'll try out a bunch of the new trap things, and we'll just vibe it out. And I wasn't sure if I was going to go for the Lightning Trap package with the new buffed up Lightning Spire. I tried Shock Nova Trap for a while. I tried Eye of Winter out. I always thought Eye of Winter would perform terribly on traps, and Eye of Winter itself just didn't impress me very much as a skill, just numerically. For anyone who's curious as to why it's a bad combination, I guess I can explain it. So basically, the numbers of Eye of Winter aren't that impressive just to start with. And then it has the fact that it gains damage the further it travels. So you want to be shooting the Eyes of Winters into the pack. You want to be maintaining max distance. Whereas with the way that traps work, you throw the trap at the enemy, and then the Eye of Winter leaves the enemy. So it's kind of, if you're putting on a trap, you're sort of playing the skill in reverse. so I just wouldn't recommend it. It would make a lot more sense on a mine that you throw at your feet, or perhaps if you use the Sunblast belt, so you get the instantly triggering traps, maybe that could be a thing where you purposely throw traps at your feet. And that might actually be a playstyle. But if you're going for the default trapper thing, Eye of Winter just didn't really make sense to me. I messed around with Blade Trap. Blade Trap seems cool. I think Blade Trap will see some very interesting Blade Trap builds. My initial concern when we first saw the skill was like, God, this really has no AoE. And having played around with the skill, God, it really has no AoE. Yeah, the AoE is going to be the main thing that holds it back. I think that's going to be the main thing which pushes people off of the skill. But mechanically, it's strong. It irritates me a little bit. It's something that I was going to talk about. I was planning on making a video about it up to League stuff. I was just too busy with other stuff. It's basically just Flamethrower Trap. That's one thing which has irritated me a little bit about the 90 new skill gems. I don't know if it's just because GGG's been busy with other stuff or whatever, but like, of the 19 new skill gems, a lot of them are just replacing other skill gems. Or at least just borrowing very heavily mechanically. So for example, Spectral Helix is basically just Val Spectro 2.0. Blade Trap is Flamethrower Trap, but it uses attacks. At least it's different in the attack sense, that's kind of fine. Explosive Concoction is basically Magma Orb, and there's even a Flask Magma Orb MTX skin. Maybe that was the inspiration. There's just, yeah, there's lots of like overlap in that sense, but anyway. So Blade Trap seems really cool. If I end up getting some really cool items dropping, I'd maybe go back to it. But I've actually been playing, as you can probably see from this, quite a lot of Seismic Trap with Exsanguinate Trap. So the new Seismic Trap slaps. Like, it is really, really nice. And even like as soon as you get it just in a 1-link, it dumpsters Dominus. Like, you get it just for Dominus, you just a 1-link Seismic Trap, you throw them all out, it will solo them, no problem. It's really good. There's too much clutter in this League mechanic, dude. It's really, really strong. So another thing that I've been thinking a lot about, and it's something that I think about every league, is like, can I make some cool non-crit trappers? Last league, I watched quite a lot of Amy, Ziggy's partner, playing an Exsanguinate Trapper. I made some POBs for her, and it looked really cool. And then leading up to this league, so I always try and see what all the other YouTubers are doing it. I saw Behind Eyes Gaming was doing a Exsanguinate Trapper. And I was like, I really do want to make that build. There's also one of my viewers is always messaging me on Twitter about Exsanguinate Traps. And I'm like, maybe now's the time. So I kind of like, I had that in the back of my head, and I tried the new Seismic Trap. I'm like, dude, this is good. So last league, actually, there were a lot of people playing Seismic Trap with hit, crit, Exsanguinate Trap, not dot hit based. And you're literally just using it as a delivery method. It's very good as a delivery method because of the way the chaining and everything works. It just is a very smooth map clear. And it has just good numbers to back it up as well. What I'm attempting to do, I can very quickly show you a path of building. It's just a tree that I threw together a second ago. It would look something sort of like this. I'm going to try and take it straight down the middle, doing non-crit and scaling just generic fizz. So it's not really a dot build, but it would actually have pretty decent Exsanguinate dot damage. And another thing which makes the whole Exsanguinate and Seismic Trap scaling really good, if anyone wants to play with Seismic Trap, you want to scale as much skill effect duration as possible, and that's kind of where the synergy comes from. And by going for this non-crit route, you can kind of justify the 7 points I'm spending into skill effect duration. And I'm going for generic fizz rather than dot damage, because again, I'm mostly scaling the Seismic Trap, but it just also happens to scale the Exsanguinate hit and the Exsanguinate dot. So the way that Seismic Trap works mechanically is you throw the trap. So some people get confused by trap duration and skill effect duration. So trap duration is how long the physical trap you throw on the floor lasts until it triggers. So it's 4 seconds by default. After 4 seconds, the trap triggers, and then Seismic Trap sort of activates. Seismic Trap, like the activated Seismic Trap, has a base duration of 3.5 seconds, and at base releases 5 waves every 0.9 seconds. the more trap throwing speed you have, the faster it releases the waves. And the more base duration you have, the longer it stays active, releasing those waves. So you kind of want to scale as much trap throwing speed as possible, so you're getting those pulses as often as possible. And then you want to kind of match up your skill effect duration with the waves. So for example, just for example, to make the maths really easy, say that it released 5 a second. If you got it to 5 seconds, you'd get 5 bursts, where if you got it to 5.5, that's still just 5 bursts. So try and get the timing right, so you get just enough duration that you get to the next like set of bursts. And then once you've got to that next set of bursts, you don't need to worry about more skill effect duration unless it's getting you to the next threshold. So with just the little bit of scaling that I have from leveling, you can see that it now releases waves every 0.6 seconds. And the more trap throwing speed you have, the more you get. So yeah, the idea is to get as much trap throwing speed as possible, so we can just loads and loads of bursts, and then get as much skill effect duration as possible, so it's lasting for as long as possible. Use the exanguinate trap chain for clear, for nice smooth clearing, and then you just dunk down a bunch of seismics, and you're absolutely laughing. If I had a pair of deerstalkers, I would just throw the exanguinate in deerstalkers and basically set and forget for pretty much forever for this character, and then run a 6-link seismic in chest. Haven't got a pair of deerstalkers yet. I'm actually kind of tempted to level a character level 22, and then just spam reroll the expedition gambler. That's why I got my tabula. So if you don't know, one thing you can do to guarantee uniques, this is very valuable in SSF because I play SSF, is get, if it's assuming it's a low level, right unique, get to whatever the level you need is, and then just spam reroll the inventory. You could, for example, if farming tabula, just constantly get fresh characters to town to reset her inventory. But that's a complete waste of time as far as I'm concerned. What you're much better off doing is just like leveling a character to Act 4 without spending any currency with her, then make a fresh character, and just spam reroll on that character, and you're laughing. It's over there. I'm getting distracted by the video, sorry. So, yes, I will keep playing this character, obviously, and do regular updates. I guess now it's time to talk about the League mechanic itself. What do I think about it? What do I think of the flask changes? How am I actually finding just like playing the game now that I've kind of gone through my journey and where I'm up to now? The League mechanic, I'm kind of conflicted. There's a lot I like, but it's very annoying. It's one of the most annoying leagues they've made. So I like all the different NPCs. I like all the different functions. You've got the little guy who gives you amazing amounts of currency. You get really good little deals with him. Basically just haggle everything down to about 50-ish%. A lot of the time he'll accept it. If he says no, just bump up a little bit. And around 50 and 60%, you'll get everything. Laughing. Great. You've got the gambler who, as I said, you can use to cheese certain uniques. That was really good for SSF. In a trade league environment, you're probably not going to get much use out of her, but maybe she'll give you some fancy like influence bases and stuff once you get into like the super high levels. But she's definitely the least impactful outside of SSF. And then you've got the guy who you buy an item and you like chain upgrades it. Again, seems okay-ish while leveling. Maybe it will help you get a good weapon here and there. That's how I got my good blade trap weapon for the 2 acts I played leveling with blade trap, from Act 3 and Act 4. But for the most part, I'm just saving my currency for him, and I'm going to wait until I'm in maps. Then when I'm in maps, I will re-roll his inventory a couple of times. The guy who converts the leader, Danig, I mean, it's good that he converts all the currencies around, because that's something that will be very helpful in SSF, but, like, it's pretty boring as far as a system. Like, it's useful that we have that functionality, but it feels a bit kind of lame that it's like, we've got 4 NPCs, 3 have got these really unique things, and then one of them's just, like, the cash converter. I feel like, I don't know if we needed a whole person to just be the conversion guy. Could we not have just had that? I also hate picking up all of the artifacts and all the splinters. It's incredibly frustrating. So you already have to run around and think and place all the things. That I like. I actually really like the consideration of where am I going to lay my dynamite. As I said, it can get a little bit annoying when it's a case of, depending on the layout, you end up running into like a dead end of like, 1, 2, I want to go here, but there's not enough like travel distance. So the laying of the TNT can be a bit annoying. Also, sometimes it can make your mouse act really weird, like you'll get stuck on terrain and your thing comes completely unresponsive, so it's a little bit janky. But I actually don't mind it. And also one thing, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, these statues that give you the buffs, those chain throughout the whole thing. So if you're laying 4, let's say we exploded this one, then this one, they stack. So not only do you want to plan your route, but you kind of want to plan it around what will give you the best buffs. So these two, we'd want both of these first. So we'll activate that one first. And then, yeah, we want these rewards, so we'll grab that. And then this one, we'll grab both of those chests. Then we've got the last one, which will grab this with those, right? But yeah, so that like little planning, that I don't mind. That I think is fine. The monsters seem fine. Difficulty seems all right. Can be generally fairly easy, but you can get some pretty difficult mods on there. Like cannot evade, immunity, stuff like that. All right, cool. So all in all, not that bad. Then you've got to run back on yourself, opening all the chests. Fine. But then there's a lot of clicking, picking up all the artifacts. And yes, the splinters kind of drop in stacks. Like, okay, it dropped 18. I didn't have to click 18 different times. But I just had to pick up like 6 stacks of 10 or 18 or whatever it was. And as these chains get longer and longer, like, you know, that was only with 4 dynamites. Imagine when you're up to like 10. And then you're kind of in like blight map levels of loot, but in a much jankier process. And that's just not fun for anyone. I don't think anyone's enjoying that aspect of it. And it also seems kind of arbitrary in the sense of we can't do anything with these fragments. These fragments are only a vendor currency. It's not like a situation where with like a Chaos Orb, it's an item I could use on my map device, or I could use it on my items. You know, it's literally just bleh. And we have an NPC that converts them, so we then don't really need the ability to buy them from other players. And if you wanted the ability to buy them from other players, they could go for the Einhard tech, where you have like a special orb you can put it into. It really should be auto pickup. It should just be a situation of you get these artifacts and the NPC just either automatically picks it up for you, or it's like Azerite, you just run over them, picks them up. There's no reason for us to pick up this many different, and they use up a lot of inventory space, which while leveling through the axe was incredibly noticeable. So these ones weren't too bad. This was just like, okay, literally just that. Not that bad. Some of them are 4 sockets though, and if you've run through like 3 zones, suddenly you'll look at your inventory and like 3/4 of your inventory just all these random fragments. And yes, you can use the fragment chest when you're at the NPC, but that's just, it's very clunky. I like that it has the affinities, but like it uses up a lot of inventory space. You could maybe try and make the argument that like by having it so it takes up inventory space, it will then help balance the mapping experience, because you'll have to like really think about what you're picking up in maps, but then you can just use the map. It's just, why? Like, no. No, I don't like it. Yeah, I think the League mechanic itself is really cool. I like the NPCs, except for the converter guy. I find him a little bit boring. Obviously, because I'm just going through the campaign, because I'm on my 2nd character. I haven't got to experience the big endgame aspect of it. I haven't got to experience the logs where you go on like the special big missions. Those look very interesting. The enemies themselves seem fairly fair. So like I like it. I think it's a good mechanic. I think it's worth doing while leveling. You know, you can use it to cheese certain uniques early on, so it's definitely very good while leveling from that point of view. You can every now and again gamble, get some decent rerolls. The currency guy is especially good while leveling, in the sense that it can get you, you know, a stack of chance orbs that you need, so you can buy the gems you want off the vendor, because sometimes you can be very starved for chance orbs. As I said, the upgrade item guy can be great for picking up a weapon early if you're struggling with your weapons. So, like, you know, it seems smooth. Like, it seems like a good thing. You have to think about it. You have to consider where you're placing the TNT. If you can't be bothered, you can just go boom, 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 and start every time without thinking, or you can min-max it. So, like, there's a lot to like there. It's very flexible. It's also incredibly fair from the point of view of it's one of the first league mechanics we've had in a long time where you can die. I kind of like the bringing hardcore to softcore thing that we've had in a lot of the past leagues. But the problem with those league mechanics is then if you have disconnects or bad performance, it can feel very unfair. Whereas in this, like, if you die or something goes wrong or your game crashes, you can just run back into the zone and you're chilling. So that's really good, and that's one of those things that a lot of players, I'm sure, will really appreciate. So there's a lot to like about this league mechanic, but the fragments are absolutely ridiculous. I'm really hoping that GGG makes them a metamorph auto pickup. I don't know if they will. I really hope they do. And if they don't do that, if at the very least they could condense the amount of currencies there are, that could be another thing. Because we have different currency types for each different NPC. And then we've got, like, small ones, 2-slot ones, 4-slot ones. It's just so much excess clicking. Maybe if this league, like, no, to be honest, if we'd had the full loot rework and then this league came out, it would still be too much clicking. But with the current amount of loot in the game with that as well, no, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think it can be, like, defended. I like the league a lot. The new skills, I've heard some good things. Again, Blade Trap seems fun. Just the AoE is not quite there for me, but I will try it out again with a different thing. Explosive Concoction, a little bit of a letdown. I did level briefly with Spectral Helix. I didn't talk about that. Spectral Helix has absurd single target damage. Really good skill. Map clear is a little bit slow. But, you know, if you just get a run move, I believe Noogie's playing it and it's going quite well for him, sort of playstyle, then, you know, you can make it work. All right, let's dunk on Arakali real quick, and then I'll finish up the video there. Damages. One thing for the Seismic Trap gamers, by the way, if you're in Trade League, keep an eye out for Anomalous Seismic Trap. The quality gives cooldown recovery, and it is possible to get enough cooldown recovery to play a pure Seismic Trapper, but it requires a lot of gear to work. And with the nerf to Second Wind, you can no longer just run Second Wind while leveling to ease it out, because it increases the cooldown for 1, and 2, it's now like a 200% mana multiplier. And if you're running like a 6-link with a 200% mana multiplier, yeah, you're going to go very, very quick. But yes, let me know how your day 1 is going. What skills are you playing? What do you think about the league mechanic? What's your take on the picking up all the splinters? Are you enjoying the TNT placing aspect? I'm just going to end the video here. So yes, I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.